Thank you very much, Julia. Good morning, everyone. Indeed, educational institutions are powerful social forces that shape professional identities. The contradictions that my colleague just mentioned are not incidental. They reflect deeper structural issues in how professional identities are formed and maintained within music institutions. The occupational roles in music training may reflect an embedded cultural continuities from private apprenticeship models that have been carried over into formal educational settings. Oops. These legacy practices appear to have persisted with limited critical adaptation, and this may have contributed to the informal institutionalization of historical norms. It is within this context they approach the question of change. My remarks adopt social behavioral perspectives to analyze how musicians enact their roles, specifically how they verify meanings they attach to their roles, and what is the role of institutions in shaping those meanings. Think about Robert Schumann's injured hands, or even Eric Clapton's hearing problem. Schumann's hand injury has echoed through hallways of the music institutions for decades. We pass those narratives to students romanticized and dramatized rather than examined. We teach about Robert Schumann and explain how he tried to self-fix his finger problem by using an awkward device to increase finger independence. But we know that practices aimed at enhancing finger independence persist, with or without the help of those devices. But we don't know how they really work and how they may cause injury to avoid them. Many teachers teach those exercises without having that kind of knowledge. Consequently, significant aspect of learning music, specifically our occupational behaviors, such as practicing, teaching, and performing, are taught as legacy learning. Tertiary level music students today may experiencing physical issues similar to those of Schumann. The absence of critical framework to connect historical injuries to present-day institutional practice risk normalizing music-related health concerns as a tradition. These observations reflect cultural norms where established practices are often perpetuated without critical examination. These cultural norms are one major source of meanings people attach to their roles. These roles stored in what is called the identity standard that form role identities. The identity standard is retained in memory and used as reference to guide behavior across situations. It's how student, faculty, and administrators make sense of themselves as distinct individuals in a role and within a group. However, I argue that even within institutional settings, role identities continue to be shaped predominantly through informal and culturally inherited models. As a result, meanings related to occupational health, such as injury prevention, are rarely understood as obligations central to professional identity. Within music institutions, individuals' role network comprising teachers, peers, and administrators serves as key cultural context in which specific role-related meanings are either reinforced or marginalized. In music school or in music institutions, the people around us, our teachers, classmates, and school leaders play a significant role in shaping how we understand our identity as musicians. If injury prevention is not treated as part of what we learn, it's unlikely to become part of how we see ourselves in that role. even if we care about our health as part of our personal identity, it won't be occupationally relevant. The image you see represents the culturally inherited shared meaning, agreed upon expectations, and transmitted knowledge within the master-apprentice role network. This role network, this is the image before that. This role network exhibits a historically transmitted patterns of behavior established by past educators. Those historically established patterns of behaviors are what we refer to as culture, or informal norms, institutional informal norms. Those norms include self-imposed code of conduct that are expressed through behaviors in music institutions and are passed down from one generation to the next, guiding occupational practices. But the problem is that those self-imposed code of conduct may or may not include elements like injury prevention, and because they are informal, they do not always get passed on consistently. Therefore, we found ourselves stuck in a loop, as you see in this slide, where established practices are adapted without critical examination into their professional meaning, resulting in a lack of self-reflection. This is where we need to consider how knowledge itself is shaped within this role network. Much of what musicians come to know is not examined critically. It's socially constructed through traditions, repetition, and authority figures. Even with existing evidence-based knowledge, we rarely use it in the context of culture, of the current culture. Because this knowledge often comes from respected lineage rather than formal training or research, it can acquire an almost unquestionable authoritative quality. If the role identity of a teacher does not include being an injury preventer, for example, then injury prevention won't be integrated into how they teach and how they see themselves as injury preventers. And if the knowledge that informs their role is limited to what's been socially handed down to them, it won't evolve. If they're unaware or assume health isn't their responsibility, they may reinforce behaviors that causes music health concerns. In the current culture, when injury occurs, it's well documented that students who experience injuries often turn to their music teachers first, and that's another problem. But this puts teachers in difficult positions. Without a clearly defined role identity around music health-related concerns or support, they may feel pressured to step outside of their expertise, offering medical or psychological advice they're not trained to give. Even if well-intended, this blurs professional boundaries. Based on this analysis, it becomes clear that the issue at hand is a matter of identity, ethics, and knowledge. To sum up this analysis, role behavior within music institutions are largely shaped by self-imposed code of conduct and socially constructed knowledge. As a result, the professional identity in music remained underdeveloped and often unequipped to meet ethical responsibility. At institutional and organizational level, the absence of an occupational health-related code leads to fragmented practices and inconsistent responsibilities. Additionally, we miss the opportunity to share disciplinary mission in developing the discipline. For example, the Code of Ethics provided by the National Association of Schools of Music, NASM, includes general ethical provisions regarding faculty institutional behavior, but provides no explicit guidance on music-related health concerns. With that context in place, I'd like now to turn over to Megan, who will walk us through how we're going to face this challenge. Thank you very much.